There's no thing that we're not moving anything, so there's no motions tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Are we ready to go live? Are we live?
We're live.
Yes, we're live now.
We're live. Thank you. Good evening, friends and neighbors, to the January 18th, 2022 public meeting of the Township Committee, the governing body of Maplewood Township. Please join us in a salute to the American flag. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
to the United States of
of
America
America
and to
and
the
to the
republic
republic
for which it
which it
stands,
stands,
one nation,
one
nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty
and
and
justice.
justice for all.
Pursuant to Section 5, Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of New Jersey, this is to state for the record that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the public by posting and maintaining the annual notice of regular meetings on the bulletin board of the municipal building, by mailing the annual notice of regular meetings for 2022 to the News Record and Star Ledger in December 2021, and by filing said notice in the office of the Township Clerk.
Ms. Adams,
Here.
Ms. Cripe,
Here.
Mr. DeLuca,
Here,
Mr. McGehee,
Here.
Mayor Daffis.
Present. Thank you, Ms. Fritzen.
Whereas Chapter 231, Public Laws of 1975, commonly known as the Open Public Meetings Act, requires all meetings of public bodies be open to the public. And whereas Section 7A provides that the governing body has the discretion to permit, prohibit, or regulate the active participation of the public at any meeting. And whereas the desire of the governing body to comply with the provisions of this act, same time to conduct its business in an orderly and expeditious manner. Now therefore be it resolved by the Township Committee of the Township of Maplewood does hereby prohibit, except as set forth in the formal agenda, active participation in the deliberations of the governing body by the public, and except as otherwise prescribed by law, does limit the public to the observation of the actions and discussions of the governing body at all its regular and special meetings.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Adams,
Yes.
Ms. Cripe,
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca,
yes,
Mr. McGehee,
Yes.
Mayor Daffis.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Fritzen. Welcome, friends and neighbors, to our meeting, January 18th, 7:30 p.m. We're a little behind schedule in public session this evening. We apologize for that, and we thank you for joining us. We will start this evening. We have a very light agenda. We'll start with boards and committees. We're going to reappoint those members whose membership was up at the end of last year. And then we will segue into our first public comment period. This is for agenda items only. We will then receive a report from our Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Koloje, and then we will segue into administrative reports. We'll begin with Township Administrator, Mr. Gimes, then Legal Township Attorney, Mr. Desiderio, and Township Clerk, Ms. Fritzen, will finish the administrative reports. Then we'll go into reports from elected officials. We'll start with Ms. Adams, then have Mr. McGehee, then Ms. Cripe, Deputy Mayor DeLuca, and I will go last. We only have one discussion item this evening, the approval of our local cannabis licensing application. We have a consent agenda, about 11 or 12 or so resolutions tonight. I do want to point out that we are joining South Orange in a joint resolution that carries forward the age-friendly initiative that we've implemented the past 6 years, the SOMA Two Towns for All Ages, as a shared service with South Orange. And that is resolution 11J, number 51-22. So with that, boards and committees, I'm going to read into the record the reappointments this evening for like I said, people whose membership was up and they're being reappointed. As soon as I locate that, bear with me here. Okay. First will be the name of the board, the members, and when their term expires. For the Arts Council, we have the following, whose terms will expire 2024. Marcy Thompson, Emily Zacharias, and Tricia Tunstall. For the Board of Adjustment, the Zoning Board of Adjustment, we have Greg Dreschel and Jahara Pressy. Their terms expire 2025. For the Community Board on Police, we have Kasha Pikars as co-chair, reappointed until 2024, and Piper Davenport, our youth member, reappointed for this year. That is an annual appointment, the youth member. In Emergency Management, our resident representative is Harold Bob Rowe until 2022, the end of this year. In the Environmental Advisory, Victor Gallo, 2024. Historic Preservation Commission, Eric Hammerberg, Daniel Wright, and Ina Onami are being reappointed through 2025. Library Board of Trustees, Mr. Marchman, Robert Marchman, through 2026. Local Assistance Board, Rudy Walker, through the end of this year. Open Space, Robin Morey, through 2024. Planning Board, Thomas Carlson and Salima Latham. Thomas Carlson through 2025 and Salima Latham through the end of this year. Recreation Advisory, Kathleen Mitchell through 2024. Seniors Advisory, Marilyn Schnars, Laura Whitmire, and Jerry Harmon through 2024. Sustainable Maplewood Committee, Robert McCoy, Tracy Woods, and Edward Bolden through the end of this year. Swimming Pool Advisory, Carrie Midland, Erin Siders, Jennifer Coleman Theoff, excuse me if I'm mispronouncing that, and Jonathan Hansel through 2024. And last but not least, our Youth Advisory. We do have our Youth Advisory, two remaining youth, Justin Struger and Esther Agare, who will remain through the end of this year. And we need to rebuild the rest of that committee because our previous youth members have long since graduated and moved on. And this brings us to our first public comment period. We ask that you speak only for 3 minutes. We ask that you identify yourself, first name, last name, and your address. Mr. Waltz?
Good evening, Mayor and Township Committee. We'll now begin the first public comment portion of the meeting on agenda items only. If any meeting attendee would like to address the Township Committee, please use the raise your hand function. We'll convert you to a panelist and allow you 3 minutes to speak. Would anybody like to address the Township Committee at this time? I see no one, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Waltz. Seeing no one, we'll close the public comment period for agenda items only. This moves us into our budget report for 2021. Chief Financial Officer Kolodziej previously submitted to the Township Committee at large his December 12th, 2021 budget report. Is Mr. Kolodziej with us?
Yes, I'm working on getting him transferred over, but for some reason it's not working when oh, there he goes.
Terrific. Mr. Kolodziej, we open up the Zoom to you, sir.
Am I unmuted?
You are unmuted.
I wasn't planning on attending. I was actually just watching as a viewer instead of a panelist. The budget report that you have in front of you is the final budget for the year. December obviously takes us through 12 months. The numbers that you see are going to be pretty much accurate with the exception of any transfers that we make over the coming 2.5 months that were permitted by law. So it gives the TC a good idea of what we're looking at in terms of what we have expended and what we have brought in as revenue as well. We're currently working on putting together a budget to present to the full TC so that we can have our Saturday morning meetings. We're finishing up on some of our contractual salaries. We'll have those plugged in. I'm finishing up on the debt service calculations as well. So hopefully we'll have something for everyone within a couple weeks.
Thank you, Mr. Kolodziej. Are there any questions for my colleagues for Mr. Kolodziej? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to administrative reports. Mr. Gimes?
Thank you, Mayor. Just two quick items for you tonight. First, from the Department of Recreation, as it relates to the pool, we're going to be, it's about that time we go out to bid for the concession stand. And typically with any bid, we just seek your verbal authorization that we would go out to bid for this stand as we do every year. I know previously it's been extended, but we're at the point where it can't be extended. So I will have a bid out upon your instruction shortly.
I move we go out for a bid.
A second. Do we need a roll call for that?
Ms. Adams,
Yep.
Ms. Wright,
Yes.
Mr. Luca,
Yes.
Mr. McGehee,
Yes.
Mayor Daffis.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Fritzen. Mr. Gimes, proceed to your second item.
And finally, as it relates to the discussion we had in closed session tonight after a series of interviews, it's the recommendation of administration to appoint Richard Wenner of Lavery, Salvaggio, Midas and Cohen to be the labor counsel for the Township of Maplewood. And there's a resolution accordingly on your agenda, someplace in the consent agenda.
And we will pull that out this evening before voting on the consent agenda and vote on it separately. Thank you, Mr. Gimes. Are there any questions for my colleagues for Mr. Gimes? I see none from my colleagues. I have a couple, Mr. Gimes. One of the other resolutions on for tonight for adoption is a change in rates in recreation for some of our arts and recreational offerings. Do you know if those have been discussed and approved by the Rec Advisory Committee?
I know it was discussed. I don't know if a formal vote was taken. Maybe committee person Adams could shed some light on that
Well,
from that committee.
For Rec Advisory, no, since I'm not there, but we did have, while I was chair of Rec and Human Services, which is the standing committee of the township and the advisory one to this township committee, where the recommendation was to follow our director's lead on certain raises in the rates to cover. They were either underfunded or, undercharging, or just weren't covering the cost to keep the program going. To my recollection, Mr. Lembrick did not advise that there was any adverse reaction from Rec Advisory.
Perfect.
Mayor, I was speaking to Ms. Mancuso about the Bergdorf Center today, and in our conversation, she did say that she ran these numbers, these increases by the rec committee. I don't believe there was a formal vote, but there actually was a suggestion of making a couple changes. And so she has been in communication with them.
So what we're seeing tonight is a result of those changes, or are there yet to be changes?
That's a good question. I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure. I believe there was one change that was agreed to, and I believe it's in here, but I can't be positive about that.
Township Committee Member Cripe, do you have any information?
No, we are having our meeting tomorrow. So that's going to be the first time these are actually going to be formally discussed.
I think there might be some time of the essence in getting them so that they can put them out there. So I would expect that these would be the most recent. If not, then can change them, but the bulk of them would be, right? So that we don't put all of them aside for the sake of maybe one that might need to change again.
Sure. I think that sounds smart to me. And I think you're right, Ms. Adams. I think time is of the essence because camp registration, I think, begins in the next couple of days. And so, we shouldn't delay and wait until the next township committee. We can always come back and amend as we need to. Thank you all for your input on that. That was very helpful. My next question and final question for Mr. Gimes relates to the revised isolation policy of 5 days for COVID. We now know that not only has the CDC recommended and confirmed that, but our state has adopted it, our county has adopted it, and the school board has also adopted it for our students in the school district. Wondering if we are following suit as it relates to our employees.
We talked about it previously and we have not followed suit yet, but if it's the wishes of the Township Committee, we would follow suit. We, would prefer it to come from your guidance. So if you're okay with it, as I said last meeting, I do agree with it based on everything you said, CDC and now the state and the county. So I see no reason why we need to be any different in that.
Right. It'll help us get some of our employees back that we're missing, right? Are there any objections, any discussion here from my colleagues? I move that we adopt what they're calling the 5 and 5 revised policy for
I'll
isolation.
second that.
Yeah. Can we have a roll call?
Adams,
Yep.
Ms. Cripe,
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca,
Yes.
Mr. McGehee,
Yes.
Mayor Daffis.
Yes. Thank you, Ms. Fritzen. Mr. Desiderio, anything from legal?
I have no report this evening, Mayor.
Keeping us moving along. Thank you, Mr. Desiderio. Any questions for Mr. Desiderio? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to Ms. Fritzen, Township Clerk.
Thanks, Mayor. I would just ask that you consider going back to item number 5, the boards and committees, and taking one roll call vote, adopting the reappointment of all those candidates that you read, Mayor.
Move it.
Second.
Ms. Adams,
Yes.
Ms. Cripe,
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca,
Yes.
Mr. McGehee,
Yes.
Mayor Daffis.
Yes. Thank you, Ms. Fritzen. For the
And what
important-
happens going forward from there is that each person will receive a letter indicating that they were approved for reappointment tonight, and they'll get a code of conduct information and a document that they need to sign and return. And we also do an oath of office that they sign and return as well. So thank you for that. I just wanted to report on a couple items. We did have a very successful 2-day residential filming last week that I advised the Township Committee about. And it was problem-free. The 2022 parking permits are currently being offered. The parking, the jitney, the combos, the overnight lots, they're all available for Maplewood residents. And again, I thank you for the last meeting extending the 2021 permits through January 30th. So that's working out well. And that's my report.
Thank you, Ms. Fritzen. We'll move on to reports from elected officials, and we'll begin with Committee Member Adams.
Yes, thank you. First, I would like to request that I not be first on every meeting for this.
We'll mix it up.
It makes it up a lot. Come on. But seriously, I'd like to thank the Community Coalition on Race for a really wonderful memorial or service. It's not really a memorial service, but what we do every year with Martin Luther King Day on this is just inspiring and always kind of goes to your heart. So I appreciate that. It was online and I know there were a couple hundred people there, and it was really wonderful to be present for that. Just a couple quick things. HBC is coordinating with the consultants, architects for the final design for the Duck Pond Bridge and Memorial Park as we identify it internally. But I'd also, we want to get that finalized so that we can get it out to bid, and so that it as soon as possible in the early spring can be fixed. But in the meantime, I'd like to ask the public to please not use it. We have an ongoing consistent problem of DPW having to go over and put up the barricades yet again. It's not safe. We wouldn't have it blocked off if it were safe. So it was damaged by Ida. And I think everyone would appreciate you just taking a detour either to Oakview or to Baker and using the library bridge, or, it's really not that bad. So just plan ahead. It's not going to be open for several months. So, but just for your own safety, we ask that you not try to take down those barricades and go over it. And lastly, from code, now that New Jersey is finally friendly to home bakers and cooks, the cottage food industry is something that maybe some of our residents, I would have loved to have done it 25 years ago, but they're a little too late for me. But it's something that we won't be licensing here in Maplewood, but you do have to license with the state of New Jersey, and you can find that information on the State of New Jersey Department of Health. There's a lot of information that will tell you exactly what you need to do. But of course, our health department under Candace Davenport is at town hall and can answer any questions or give you guidance on that with regard to safe food handling and all that kind of stuff. So right now, there's nothing currently you have to get licensed by the township, but you do have to get a state license. So that's my report, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Adams. And it's never too late, Ms. Adams. You do make the best Christmas.
It's too late. It's too late, Dean.
No, you make the best Christmas cookies I've ever had.
I know, but they're too many.
Okay. I'm just putting it out there. All right, Committee Member McGehee.
Thank you, Mayor. A few items. First, public safety. We had the meeting last Wednesday evening. We went over our crime statistics. I'm happy to report that crime is down. The town is safe. Through the month of November, we're at a net of 18% decline in crime. Again, the issue continues to be our auto theft issue with people leaving their keys in their car, leaving it running. It's, inclusive of people living in town, people commuting through and stopping at the quick check or to get something and leaving their car on and getting obviously taken. So we'll continue to fight that process, but overall, crime is down, we're safe. From an OT or cost perspective, the police chief has done a phenomenal job. Changing to a Power Wednesday and working through that process. We've seen our dollars and our also OT dollars go down across the entire board. So really wanted to give him a shout out for his ability. And this is also still during COVID and being down people due to the pandemic. So really a salute to Chief Duvall. On the other side, Chief Alvarez is starting to get under the hood. We do have some challenges with some of our OT costs going up because of COVID, but he is looking into that with DeMartini, the deputy chief, will be making some adjustments accordingly. That's public safety. Community Board on Police, I know you are hearing, Mayor, so you'll cover that. Master plan update, you will cover that as well. Green Team, we met last week. We discussed several items. Two that I think are most pressing is we had a follow-up conversation about the banning of leaf blowers year-round. The Green Team is willing to work with EAC and do their part on an awareness campaign. I shared with them some information that came from our code meeting that you and Ms. Adams sat on, and so they are receptive to that. And are we looking for us to continue that conversation, which I believe will be in February. Also, just for the public, Green Day is back. It's going to come, it's going to be this year, Saturday, April 23rd. It will be in the village. We're working on that right now, but as for those who know, Green Day is an exciting, really an exciting event that we used to have every year before COVID, and you really get to learn about all the amazing things that we're doing from a sustainability perspective in the Township of Maplewood and actually Essex County as well. Also, PBA for those who are interested in sustainability and availability on the Green Team. So if you'd like to get involved, because volunteers make this engine run in the Township of Maplewood, we want you. So please go to our Township website, fill out a committee form, and we will look at it and we'll get you to a Green Team meeting, and then we'll hopefully get you into the fold. And if you want to reach out to me personally in my TC email address, do that, and I'll get you to the next TC meeting Many hands make light work. The Fields Task Force will be meeting this Thursday at 7 p.m. We had a few technical challenges in terms of the type of Zoom we wanted to do. So Ms. Bailey and I have fixed that. I'll send that email out this evening for that meeting on Thursday. And then two more things. The Board of Health is updated their COVID-19 portal. So please go to the Township website to get up-to-date information in regards to all things related to COVID-19, as well as accessibility around test kits. And also from a business perspective, from Springfield Avenue, our partnership, we are looking to have an event. Actually, let me share my screen versus trying to read all this at the same time. Let's see, share screen. Number 2. A focus group on Tuesday, January 25th from 7 to 8:30 p.m. This is for business or property owners. We'd love to have you, Ms. Wallace and team. This is regarding the Neighborhood Preservation Plan Grant Program, and it's an opportunity for your voice to be heard. So please join us for that enlightening event. And with that, that's my report, Mayor. Thank you for the time. I yield the floor.
Thank you, Mr. McGehee. Next, we have Committee Member Craig.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Wanted to give you a heads up in regards to the Senior Advisory Committee. We had a very long and productive meeting where they discussed and extended gratitude to the Township Committee for the continuation of the Soma 2 Towns for All Ages initiative. They would request, however, if there is a way for additional ads to be placed in other mediums such as LinkedIn, and for those information, that bit of information be passed along to the committee, because they're going to take it to the streets. That's pretty much what they said. They were going to go door to door and talk to their neighbors and see if they have caregivers or family members who would be interested in applying for that additional advisory position from Maplewood, because they really want that filled, and Tracy truly needs the assistance. We discussed the Black History Month art exhibit they're planning on putting together at 1978. Few concerns about the COVID compliance, in particular with the numbers, if we end up with large numbers of folks, but they made the decision that we were going to be doing registrations, and so it'll be a timed entry thing. They're also looking at more ways of getting community involved across the educational piece, looking to create beyond the English as a second language, but some computer skills courses, and working with Seton Hall to create programming that is more senior specific in what they call kind of the dark areas of senior living, in particular dementia, dealing with depression and loneliness, and death and dying. Finally, they are extremely happy with the conversations they've been having with Seton Hall about the snow removal for seniors in the community, and they're hoping to extend that beyond into the high schools and set up a geographic map. They've got big plans. I can't wait to be a senior. They stay busy, and looking at how they can definitely make sure that they're keeping folks in mind and actively involved and not forgotten. And they do plan to keep a vaccine roster with the fitness classes that we've been doing over at the Heart. They really appreciate that, because it saves them time from having to continuously keep their cards with them and also hunt for them through their things. We haven't had a pool meeting yet. That will be Monday, the 24th, but there are some specific items I know that from talking to the committee chair that are concerned, in particular, the fact that the pool has ran in the red forever. And so they're looking at alternative ways of trying to find funding, as well as improving membership, so that we won't have to continue to increase fees, which causes membership to drop off at the pool. The Black History Month program and planning is going really well. We currently have about 15 events, from book reviews and book discussions to food demonstrations. We have essays contests and a power tumbling exhibition. We've got 2 film screenings. There's a lot of things happening for Black History Month. So I'm really, really excited. And thanks to Bissy and the folks at the Recs Department for making sure that we had all the dates available for the Woodland so that people could get their reservations started and start booking dates. It's going to be a great Black History Month, and we're hoping that a lot of these events will be in person, but online options will be available for those folks who are not comfortable to be out in the public. I think what's left? I believe that's about it. And like Mr. McGee had stated, we are still definitely in looking for additional people to be a part of the Recs Committee, Recreational Arts Committee. Please, the public, consider being a part of that program. We've got a lot of exciting things coming down the pike, in particular, the plans for Maple Crest Park with the splash park and the pickleball courts maybe. So we could use a lot of new blood and a lot of energy behind the activities and events that we're planning on doing with your tax dollars. So thank you for your time.
Nice
yield the floor.
work. That's great. Nice report. See how busy you've gotten in just a little over 2 weeks already? Yeah, that's how it happens. Deputy Mayor DeLuca.
Thank you, Mayor. So I got 5 things just want to talk about. One is FEMA. We have been meeting tirelessly with FEMA to try to get some money back for Tropical Storm Ida. We probably will submit upwards of $1 million to see if for their consideration. Now, of course, that only gets 75% of anything that gets approved, and we have insurance payments and all that, but we're on it. We've been meeting, we've had probably about 4 meetings with our FEMA rep. We have another one next week, and we're moving forward with that. So we have all hands on from the department heads on this and trying to make that work. Tonight on our consent agenda, we have a couple of contracts from our engineering, public works, and planning work. One is for the do some work on the community development block grant program, and that's to assess some street corners that we're going to be working to make them handicap accessible. The other is to prepare for our major paving of Jacoby Street and 44th Street and that area over there. So we have some surveying that's being done and some other planning being done. We also are happy to report that the sewer work, we have a major sewer job of $1 million down at the end of Boyden Avenue on the Irvington line. Very intensive job, but that should be done within 6 weeks or so, and we'll open that road up again to everyone so they can travel. And we've hired a consultant to do a major evaluation of our storm drainage infrastructure around town. We've gotten a lot of concerns about, with more intense rain, our system is not able to get the water out fast enough. So we're looking at that, and we probably, if not the February meeting in March, we'll have some preliminary report from the consultant giving us a sense. Now, this that's the good news. The bad news is we'll be talking about this at budget time for the capital budget. These are very, very costly projects. We're keeping a very close eye on the infrastructure money that's going to be coming out of the federal government, seeing what we might be able to solicit for and get here in Maplewood. But right now, we're trying to put ourselves in position so that when this money does become available, we have a plan that we can move forward. The library now, I know people are going by there and seeing a very dark building and wondering what's going on. Well, we are about a month away from having all the asbestos in the building removed, which is has to be done before we can start on the construction. So that's been ongoing for a month already, and we have another month to go. Hopefully we'll be done mid-February, and then we'll be able to start the next phase, which is going out for the construction bid. We're doing everything now to plan for it. We will be having a public presentation on the changes that we've made to the design of the building to make it more resilient. Essentially, we've moved all the mechanicals out of the basement so that if there's ever any kind of major flooding incident again, we won't lose the major structures. Additionally, we're making changes to the basement so that there's no easy way for water to penetrate in the building. We're removing stairways down there, and that's how the water got in before. So we will be presenting this. It's still going to be an all-electric building. It's going to be a sustainable LEED certified building. And then the Arts Council, we're meeting on Monday night, and we're meeting with some professors from Rutgers. We're going to be moving forward with plans to do an artistic lighting design in the south tunnel, the pedestrian tunnel that we've talked about it in the past. And this would be our complement to the murals in the north tunnel. This would be a slightly different design and would be really a way to connect the park and the village. Of course, COVID put everything on hold, but we're trying to start that process again. And then lastly, I just want to share this. Thursday night, we have Mayor Dean Daffis is coming to the Hilton Neighborhood Association via Zoom to talk to us about his plans as the mayor for 2022. And that's my report.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor DeLuca. I have a few items. Some of the stuff has already been covered by all of you. Finance, as Chief Financial Officer Kaloje reported, in the next couple of weeks, we will be scheduling our public budget hearings throughout the month of February. We'll probably have 2 to 3 Saturdays as we usually do. Maybe the third Saturday is half a day. We'll know more in the next couple of weeks, and we'll schedule those. I know that we've been accustomed in previous years to have already started this process. I just want to note, however, that we're not behind. The local finance notice that we received from the state gave us a little bit of extra time this year, again, as they did last year due to COVID. So adopting our budget for the municipality by the end of March, by our second meeting in March, is still going to put us on par with the state's rules and requirements. Community Board on Police, as I reported before, our crisis intervention program is really full force ahead. Bailey is leading. Township Administrator Assistant Bailey Barnett is leading that effort. I understand that there are interviews happening of social worker candidates this week and next week. And what we're hoping to do is have an onboarding process for the social worker by mid to late February at the latest. And Township Administration is working on all of the internal administrative accommodations and supports that need to be implemented in order for this to work. We've had some really great meetings with public safety officials, both from fire and PD, to work out the 911, the dispatch specifics, and transport. This is going to be a co-response. Certainly in the beginning, and we have support, supervision from the Mental Health Association of Essex and Morris counties, as we talked about before. We've memorialized that agreement formally through a legally binding MOU. And recently, we heard from South Orange's program, similar program, as it relates to being able to help students in our high school. And we'll be talking about that a little bit more in the coming days and presenting it to the next Community Board on Police and come back to the full governing body for any policy decisions as necessary. The Community Board on Police this year is going to present its annual review, a report of what they've done in the past year and what they intend to do this year. They will be doing so at right here, Township Committee meeting. Since we're so popular and we tend to get a lot of participation, they're going to come here for a wider audience and more interaction with our residents. And that's probably going to happen at one of the 2 meetings that we have in March. We'll publicize that, of course, when we have that date. Planning Board Master Plan. Where are we with our Master Plan RFP? As you know, we went live, very competitive RFP. The return date was mid-December. We received 4 proposals, 4 very good proposals, very large proposals in terms of big packets to go through. Our Master Plan Review Committee is meeting tomorrow evening to make a selection. We have all read the proposals received, and we've ranked them, and we will have a nice discussion tomorrow night and hopefully come out of that discussion with a planner, a recommendation for the planner that we want to use. And of course, that will then kick off a lot of different public engagement meetings and stakeholder meetings and meetings with the planning board and meetings with the township committee. And we will definitely report about that as it all materializes. As Ms. Adams noted, the Community Coalition on Race put on once again a very uplifting and inspiring observance and celebration of MLK Day yesterday. It was wonderful. There were a lot of people, over 230 people I counted at some point, and it was wonderful to be together in celebration of beloved community. Also, MMS, Maplewood Middle, and our high school, our students also did their annual MLK Peace March on Friday in observance, and I was really lucky to join our students, our 6th graders and 7th graders, and very, very proud of them and their advocacy. And last but not least, congrats to our governor, Governor Phil Murphy, who was officially sworn in earlier today in his historic 2nd term. It was a family affair. He was surrounded by his 4 children and his wife, First Lady Tammy Murphy, and all of them spoke about what it's like to have dad as the governor and what is the governor like as a dad at home. And it really was very symbolic, I think, because I think Governor Murphy's leadership and perspective has been that we are all a family in this state. And together, we are all going to be part of moving forward better and fairer and stronger. So that was really a beautiful event. And of course, we also have to congratulate Lieutenant Governor Sheila Oliver in her being sworn in for her 2nd term as well. Sheila Oliver, a major trailblazer, the first African-American woman to win statewide office, the first African-American woman to be the Speaker of the Assembly in the state legislature, and many, many other firsts. A real trailblazer, and I'm really fortunate to work with her and to have her as my boss. And that's my report. Thank you. So now we'll move on to our discussion item. Mr. DeLuca, Deputy Mayor DeLuca.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to share this. There we go. So we have put together a cannabis license application form. It's quite extensive, and I've shared this with members of the Township Committee, and just want to get any comments you have, and then we just need approval of this 10-page license application, and we can start making it available for businesses that want to come to Maplewood and be considered for a local license.
I'll start off. When you sent the information out, Mr. DeLuca, last Tuesday, you asked us to review it. You said you had any issues, let you know beforehand. I reviewed it. I think it's fine, and I'm open to moving forward with it, and I'd move it.
Any other discussion?
No, I'll second what Mr. McGee said.
Great, and I have nothing to add. Mr. DeLuca covered it, and as he said, he has circulated it way in advance of tonight. So I think we can take a roll call. Ms. Fritzen?
Ms. Adams,
Yes.
Ms. Craig,
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca,
Yes.
Mr. McGee,
Yes.
Mayor Daffis.
Yes. Thank you, Ms. Fritzen, and thank you, Mr. DeLuca, Deputy Mayor DeLuca, for your hard work on putting the application together. So I think the next steps here are to make this available on our website and to send out public notices that we're open for business starting tomorrow. I'm going to leave that up to Township administration to figure that out and execute that. Are there any questions or discussion about that? Okay, this brings us to our consent agenda. Before we take a motion to adopt the consent agenda, we're going to pull out, as we said we would, item 11I, resolution number 50-22, appointing labor counsel for this year. I believe Township Administrator Jimes has a recommendation for us.
Yes, Mayor, as previously indicated, that recommendation is Richard Wenner of Lavery Salvaggi, Abromaitis, and Cohen.
I move the recommendation.
Second,
Roll call.
Ms. Adams,
Yes.
Ms. Cripe,
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca,
yes.
Mr. McGeehee,
Yes.
Mayor Daffis.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Fritzen. Committee Member Cripe, can I get a motion to adopt consent agenda items 11A through 11H and 11J through 11L?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I move that we adopt the consent agenda as you listed. I can't do all those, guys. I'm horrible at this.
Oh, yeah, well, you got the unlucky seat for somehow it.
Do
Well,
we
that
have a
was smooth,
second?
at least. I'll
Second.
second.
Second,
Roll
Ms.
call,
Adams?
please.
Yes.
Ms. Cripe,
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca,
yes.
Mr. McGeehee,
Yes.
Mayor Daffis.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Fritzen. And Committee Member Cripe, you did really well. So I need a motion to approve the regular session meeting minutes for August 3rd, 2021. Do I have a motion?
I move it.
I'll second it.
Roll call?
Adams,
Yes.
Ms. Cripe,
Abstain.
Mr. DeLuca,
Yes.
Mr. McGeehee,
Yes.
Mayor Daffis.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Fritzen. I'm going to move the closed session meeting minutes from our last meeting, January 4th, 2022. Do I have a second?
Second.
Yep, there you go.
Roll call?
Ms. Adams,
Yes.
Ms. Cripe,
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca,
Yes.
Mr. McGeehee,
Yes.
Mayor Daffis.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Fritzen. And this brings us to our public comment, our second public comment for any subject matter. Mr. Waltz is going to handle public comment, and he will instruct you as I'm about to instruct you. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes and identify yourself, first name, last name, and give us your address. Mr. Waltz,
And Mayor, can we ask them to put their camera on too?
if they're comfortable doing so, yes. Or
Good evening
possibly.
again, Mayor and Township Committee. We'll now begin the second public comment portion of the meeting on any subject matter. If any meeting attendee would like to address the Township Committee, please use the raise your hand function. We will convert you to a panelist and allow you 3 minutes to speak. Again, before addressing the Township Committee, please use your first and last name and address. First, we have John Rose, converts to a panelist.
Hi, this is Kathy Hernandez. I'm not sure why John Rose's name is coming up, other than we must have shared the computer at some point recently. My name is Kathy Hernandez. I am the Executive Vice President of CWA Local 1031. I live in Manalapan, New Jersey, not Maplewood, but I am the union rep for the workers in the township. I do have some of my members attending tonight, but I heard at the beginning of the meeting that instead of limiting me to 3 minutes, and having to have them cede their time to me, you'll let me speak. And I did send notes to most of you ahead of time about what I'd like to speak about. So as I said, I'm the Executive Vice President for Local 1031. We represent state colleges in New Jersey, Rutgers University Hospital, 25 municipal libraries, including Maplewood, several different municipal groups and employees. I organized this group of employees more than 20 years ago. I've negotiated the contracts and I've dealt with every single township administrator in the last 20 years. I'm writing tonight because the current township administrator has not responded to emails, phone calls, faxes, and one of my members actually stopped him in the hall to ask him about an issue, and he was dismissed. There's been no follow-up. This is unprofessional and quite frankly will lead to more grievances and unfair labor practices, which will cost the town money. I feel it necessary to put this on public record right now and speak to all of you because I have no other place to go. How am I supposed to conduct business and represent my workers if I can't get somebody to answer a phone call, an email, a fax, or in person? So this has gone on, and I've listed in the email several different things, from the way the vaccine rollout was done. I've dealt with every state college and university hospital about vaccine mandates, and it was just spit out at us without a conversation. I had to demand a meeting. Again, I shouldn't have to demand it. It should have been granted. The township, in addition, there was problems with other people's pay. I have a worker who was terminated. As per our contract, she's entitled to a hearing. I sent notice that I want a hearing in November. It's been ignored. That's trampling on somebody's rights. Whether or not she should remain terminated or not, she's entitled to a hearing. That's what we have a contract for. That's why the union is here to represent our workers. And if the township administrator is not going to respond and grant a hearing, then I have no other choice than to file an unfair labor practice charge and to also file a grievance and move it on to arbitration, which will cost you more money. And then there's two parking enforcement officers and a custodian who are currently not being paid correctly. The CFO handled it horrendously. The township administrator told me he was going to fix it in October and has yet to follow up. I've sent email after email after email. I have called every day. When you call town hall, you cannot get a human being. There's no reason for that. You should have somebody answering the phones. I've left messages for Bailey and for the township administrator, Jerry. And as I said, I've faxed over and I've emailed. I understand there was a problem with the township's email for a little while. I've had problems like that myself. So I gave time to try to see if things were going through. With that said, I am now at the point where I'm coming to the town council and I'm asking for the township attorney or the new township labor council to meet with me to resolve the outstanding issues and to try to move forward and to work on trying to move forward and have better communication. Again, I've been doing this for a very long time. I've been with Maplewood Township for over 20 years. I've never been treated this way. And there's been township administrators who I have not gotten along with, have not liked, and who we argued with, but they've never been ignored. And that's really unprofessional. So I come to you today as the people who are representing the town and whose the tax dollars are paying for the people who work in Maplewood Township to let you know what's happening and to make you aware of what's going on.
Thank you, Ms. Hernandez. We appreciate your time that you took to come here before us tonight and put your perspective on the public record. And we've received your most recent correspondence that was sent to the governing body. We had a internal discussion earlier about some of these issues that you raise, and rest assured, Township administration will be reaching out to you within the next 48 hours to make the necessary arrangements to move this forward.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're very welcome. As you can appreciate, there's always two sides to the story, but we're not going to engage in that right here. We were going to move things forward as appropriate in the next 48 hours. So thanks again for your time. Mr. Waltz, do we have other members of the public who wish to speak?
I see no one else, Mayor.
Okay, seeing no one, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Move it.
Moved.
Second.
To adjourn, Miss Adams,
Of course.
right?
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca,
Yes.
Mr. McGehee?
This is a new thing. We're actually roll call
I
to
know.
adjourn.
We usually just wait.
What's going on here?
I don't
I
know.
I
No,
wanted to do it. It's so
No.
early.
no.
You know,
Because it's so
I'm
early.
gonna stay on for the public to
Mayor
talk.
Daffis.
He
Yes.
misses us.
Good night, everyone. See you on the first